Here are the other major developments in the investigation into the attack on America. Newsweek magazine reports 2 of the suspected hijackers were already under suspicion for conducting terrorist activity by the FBI before Tuesday's attack. Newsweek says the FBI search began a couple of weeks ago, and one of the 2 hijackers was a suspect in that attack against the USS Cole as it sat in port in Yemen last year. Military reservists are being called up today. Yesterday, President Bush declared a national emergency and approved the use of tens of thousands of military reserves. The Pentagon plans to call 35,000 reservists first to serve here in the United States. As the airlines struggle to get back up and flying again, they are already making cutbacks in service. Anticipating a drop in airline travel, American, Northwest, and Continental Airlines all cut their schedules today by 20%. Continental also announced it is laying off 12,000 workers. The White House is planning a meeting with airline executives. One other bit of information we want to bring to you now, and this comes from New Jersey. Neighbors at an apartment building in Jersey City, New Jersey, have told us by telephone that the FBI has just raided an apartment there and taken many people away for questioning. An FBI spokesman confirms this and said today that at least 1 person has been detained for questioning. Through public records, we learned that the address matches up with the apartment shared by the 2 men who were arrested on a train in Texas. And if you just go back with us a little bit further, last night the FBI said that those 2 men represent their most promising lead. The men had been on a Newark to San Antonio flight on Tuesday, the day of the crashes. Their plane was forced to land in St. Louis, where they exited, boarded that train, headed for Texas. They were arrested on the train with box cutters and $5,000 in cash. What they tell authorities or what they find out from these men could help the investigation. So we're following that part of the story as well. Now, NBC's Dan Abrams is standing by to bring us more on this investigation. Dan?
Well, John, one more development, this coming in the last 10 minutes or so from the Justice Department, announcing that 1 more material witness warrant has been issued today out of New York. What does that mean? Remember, another material witness warrant was issued. Someone was arrested. That means this is someone they're going to take into custody and at the very least question. They want to talk to this person, and you get an arrest warrant for someone like this either because you want the backing of a court behind it, because a court has approved an arrest warrant, or because you're concerned the person is going to flee, for example. And you want to make sure you get the person before he or she goes anywhere. Now, just because a warrant has been issued doesn't mean that the person has actually been found yet. We don't know if that person has been found. We do know that another material witness warrant has been issued. That makes 2 material witness warrants that have been issued. And remember, sometimes that is the stepping stone to an arrest. Keep in mind, Terry Nichols, Timothy McVeigh's accomplice in the Oklahoma City bombing, was originally arrested on a material witness warrant. I want to go to our panel to talk about some of the issues that have come up today. Excuse me. Ken Allard is MSNBC's military analyst, and Joe Cantamessa has worked for the FBI as a supervisor during the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Ken, both of you former military men as well. Ken, we were talking right before we went on. You said you saw the story about Jersey City. You said this is exactly what we were expecting. What did you mean?
Well, simply because of the fact that any time that you are participating in an investigation like this, it reminds me a great deal of some of the investigations I did, bombing and other kinds of investigations like that in Germany in the 1970s when we were combating the German Red Army faction, the Baader-Meinhof gang. And the problem there was that you were dealing with people with communist leanings who occasionally acted on those beliefs. Now it's a much tougher kind of proposition because of the fact that now you have to go after people that are acting out of religious extremism. And while in this country we have historically been extremely tolerant of religious diversity, this is really some very, very touchy stuff because of the fact that, it's the kind of thing that we have not liked to get, we really have preferred not to get involved with at all. When I was an Army counterintelligence officer, when we did these kinds of investigations, you couldn't even ask about a person's religious background. Now we have to.
And Joe, I think that there is a sense out there that the federal authorities are saying there could have been 50 people involved in this attack, and there's concern that there might be other attacks as well. And yet we hear 25 have been stopped for immigration violations, a couple of material witness warrants out there. There's a sense, I think, out there that are there simply too many out there to really put a dent into this? And I think you think the answer is no.
I don't think there's too many, but the whole purpose here is to minimize the risk. Before you can minimize it or neutralize it, you have to identify it. That's what those FBI agents and other investigators are doing as we sit here.
So if I were to ask you, as a former FBI supervisor, this case is on your desk, what is your A1 priority today? The answer is identification?
Identify the risks, the associates of those risks, and then take whatever action necessary to control or neutralize them.
And so, Ken, you know, there are really two arms here in the investigation. On the one hand, an investigation into who did this. On the other hand, an investigation into how to prevent this from happening again. We're going to have to talk about this during our next session because I've got to go back to John Siegenthaler. John.
NBC's Dan Abrams. Dan, thank you very much, and to your guests as well.